And welcome back to the sixth now part of my productivity hacking series, where I'm using brainwave data to improve my ability to focus. I believe that if monks mastered focus first, programmers will be the next people to master focus, and that's because programmers are going to be some of the first people that adopt this new technology of being able to get your brain waves, get data from that, and have that influence our lives. And the way we're currently looking at that is through session tracking. And so that means that I wear my device while I program, and then I'm able to look at that data and start creating metrics on that data. And so the device that I'm wearing is the Neurosity Notion that has the equivalent of the computational equivalent of like a modern day iPhone with brain imaging technology. It's the first time that's ever been combined into a single headset. That's what we're working with. It is extendable. It can fit, many different head shapes and sizes. It goes on just like, over the ear headphones sort of do, right over the top of your head. And it has these little sensors that then can get down to your scalp and pick up on the electrical activity that's coming outside of your head. So that's what we're working with today. And what we're going to be working in is our actual developer console. And that's something that is that Neurosity, the company behind this, the company that I work with, has created. And this allows us to get like a deep inside view of the Notion. And so we'll start diving into that. And we'll check it out. And I have some very specific things I want to do today, where I'm working on a React application. It's the developer console. I'll be working on a pull request that is adding analytics to focus data. And I have done a lot of pair programming with my business partner Alex this week, and he's taught me a lot of cool tools for React. He's a rock star programmer, and I love working with him, and he's taught me a lot of the modern day features of React and JavaScript that I am just like itching to integrate into this tutorial that I've been working on over YouTube. So very excited to be here. I'll probably be here again tomorrow. I'm sorry I haven't been here a lot earlier this week. It's been a big hardware push for us at Neurosity. So we wrapped up 99% of the hardware for the new Notion device. So it's a new and improved version of the headset that I'm wearing. Twice the battery life, 50% faster CPUs. So now we're bumping the 1.2 gigahertz up to 1.8 because we found that we were getting bottlenecks sometimes. It's got a new microcontroller. I mean, it's the works, and there's a special surprise that I'll be talking about in the coming weeks that I think is going to absolutely revolutionize the way that we write to the brain. And so I'm very excited about that. But let me get into this today, and we'll start going. And we'll start programming and refactoring this React application that I've been working on. So if I show you my screen, we of course have a Discord server that you can hop on for Neurosity. Feel free to join that anytime. Let me close this and this and this. And then I will hop on over to our code and send this over here. So if you follow from part 5, I assume you've sort of seen part 5. You know that I've been using React. And if you look at the way the application is right now, I do npm start. Make sure you guys can see this. Popped up over here. Okay, so this is my focus data that's being pumped out right now, which is cool. So obviously I'm not focused really. But we are getting metrics on this current session. And I have a favorite day. I think April 4th was a really good day, and April 10th was good. But you can see every day I use it, I get a little block. The darker the block, the more snapshots. The lighter the block, the less snapshots. So if I click over here on April 10th, I think I got multiple sessions here, and there's actually a bug in this one that we're going to clean up right quick. Okay, so here you can see there are 4 different sessions within this data, and if we just look at focus data, we maybe should implement caching. It's an idea. That we will definitely do. So you can look, I have different sessions here. So session 1 had one distraction with a quality score of 88. That was a really short one of 2 minutes. I had another one of 29 minutes, another one of 22 seconds, and another one of 28 minutes. So there's several different sessions within here, and we're trying to generate metrics based on those and the quality of those metrics, or the quality of these sessions. A session being an amount of time, total amount of time, and you can define your productive time as your lost time, or your total time, 29 minutes, minus your lost time of 3 minutes and 7 seconds, for a total time of 26 minutes and 31 seconds. Those numbers then create a quality score. So this session had more productive time, right? It was a 28-minute session. I only lost 2 minutes. This one was a 29-minute session. I lost 3 minutes. So this one is a more successful session. And when I was programming this last time, I had never worked with an array of information with JavaScript, or with a React. Sorry. So it's a new. So it was sort of a new paradigm, and I talked to Alex about that, and I've got some really good ideas on how I can improve that. So without further ado, let's just go hop into the code. Cool. So something we did last time is we started working on this idea of a session. And if I come over here, we started working on this idea of a session. So day metrics is the whole array of everything here. It has all of these little metrics. Each metric is an object that has a probability, a timestamp, a device ID. It's got a bunch of information. So, and then we get sessions, and then we extract, and then each session we extract productivity data. Okay, and there's a couple things I want to do here. And the first thing is create a unique key for each session. That key is then going to be the driving thing for a lot of other features that we're going to write off of. But it takes a little bit of re-architecture, because instead of looking at this whole thing as one big feature, one big session, we're going to break it up into sessions, then we'll deal with each session by itself. And then that will drive the graphing and everything eventually. So you're like flipping through the sessions throughout the day, or you can look at all your sessions, but at least like the sessions are more of the driving thing. A session is determined, like right here is a really good example. So 5:17, so 3:50 p.m. I was working, I put it down, and then all of a sudden I pick it back up 2 hours later, and that's a new session, right? So we have some code that's analyzing sessions and stuff like that. And the first thing we want to do is we'll probably start using some more React type thing, more React hooks. So we'll bring in UseEffect. And we're going to check this out. So we're going to use this React hook called UseEffect that I have been really enjoying learning how to use. And we're going to put Demetrics in here. So anytime Demetrics changes, this function's going to run. And so anytime Demetrics changes, we're going to reset how do I do this? We're going to say, let me do use state as well. And we're going to say, what is this? Const sessions set sessions is equal to use state. I'll have this equal to an object initially. Okay. So we're going to use the state for this variable, and then we're going to say set sessions in here. Ooh. Okay. Cool. So anytime sessions is made, we'll do that. Okay, and we know that session starts with as an empty array. We may end up changing that in the end, but let's just play with that for a second. And so this should still be working. So if I go over to here, I guess I don't want to do that actually yet. Let's just have this still be, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this quite yet. Let's just hold off on this for a second. I don't know if that's the right approach yet. A little Control-Z action. Okay, let's work on another part of this first before I do that. Okay. So, okay. I want to work on this table here. Yeah, let's start working on this table. So we were doing some very ugly code where we did for each session. We would have to essentially re-render we would have to recreate this table by creating these like weird child elements, and that's just not the way you're supposed to do it in this situation. So what we really want to do is plot like an array of we want to use an array of objects and loop through those. Something that looks more like this line of code. So instead of saying return table, or even down here, instead of saying return table, we want to do something more along the lines of, let's see, return, and then we're returning what's that called, a fractured parent element, and then we're looping through sessions, and we're mapping each session to a component that takes a session ID and a session. And that's really where we'd like to get this code to. And so that's, I haven't written this yet, but I know that that's where we want to go essentially. And so then, and the way you do that is you go function session, function name, and you know it's going to take some session right. It's going to take that as input, and then open that up, and we want to return something like what is the actual HTML that we want to return, right? So currently we're returning this type of HTML, this whole thing, and we want to return that. So let's port that over. So if I come up here and I take this and go something like if session is valid, we'll do this, else we'll return null, which is totally safe in React to return null. I don't know why it's complaining. Let me see, why is it complaining? Let me just try something. Okay, so it's actually okay. Alright, there we go. Alright, so it is not mad. But essentially we want to take this JavaScript up here that we did, and we're going to copy and paste that down there. So let's just take this, and we're going to say something like, you know, we'll put this as a header, h2, and then we'll go close that. Oh, it already did that. We'll say quality score, or we'll say session number, session dot index. I don't know. Let's try that for now. Session.index had session 1 will be our heading, and then after that we'll take this code and we'll say something like, something div, and we'll say something like distractions with a quality score of session.quality to fixed. Alright, so it's going to say session 1 with a quality of this to fixed, and then we'll also say div, and we'll go ahead and get this information over here, and we'll say something like your total productive time. Let's just copy this right in here. Let's not change anything yet. Yeah. I also found out that we can do inline style like this as well. So we can do something like style, and we can say equals to, we do width 100%, and we can say height. We don't actually have to do that yet. We'll just do width. And we'll copy that style down to this div as well. Okay, so now we have this thing where essentially we can probably get rid of this whole for loop, but like look how much better this looks from a React sort of component like structure level, right? So you have this return statement that's returning something that's looping through these sessions, and we're mapping them to another form, which is a session. So it's really just like super clean. The biggest thing we need to work on is what are we sending session. So and that's where we're going to have to do a little bit of a refactor. But this is what ideally we want to happen, all of this code. So hopefully we can get to a point where that is actually working. So let's just think about what we're actually sending sessions. So sessions is an object, I think. Well, right now sessions is an array. So we want to convert, instead of doing an array, we actually want to do something where we want to return an object, okay? And so in order to return an object, we're going to go back up to filtered metrics, or actually, where is it? And get sessions. We're gonna fix this. So sessions right now is returning sessions right now is returning an array. We want to return an object of objects. That's how React wants it. As far as I can tell, and from what Alex has been telling me, that's what React wants. It wants an object. It doesn't want arrays as the leading thing, and as the leading, hierarchical structure. So we're gonna sort of fix how we do that, okay? And one thing that I added, and I'll just say that. So let's just say that we're gonna say return. Actually, let me do this. Okay, so before we get into that, oh, you can see it's already starting to work though, so that's awesome. I guess I wasn't expecting this to already start working. That's really cool. Woo! All right, look at that. So it's already working. That's awesome. I honestly amazed that worked. Okay, cool. So one thing I noticed was that if we go to, I think it was April 15th. Okay. No. Just want to show you something real quick. Okay. So right here you can see that there's sessions that only have like 3 metrics in them. And so it's kind of like we want to toss those out. So in this thing, like this whole chunk, we really want to just have like 3 sessions. We don't want to have 5. We should really have 3, because this is, 0 minutes and 0 seconds out of a total of 0 minutes and 1 second. So that doesn't make any sense. So we want to clean up that data, and the way we're going to do that is by coming down here, and we're going to just say we're going to do a filter on it. Filtered metrics is equal to, and we're going to say output dot filter. We're going to say it takes metrics, and it's just a really easy one. We're going to say return if metrics dot length is greater than, I don't know, 60, about 60 seconds or so. Okay, so if it's not, then we'll return it. So all of a sudden we now have, so if we don't change anything else, and we just do this change of code, and we go back to April 15th, we'll already see an improvement. So now we only have 3. So it got rid of those silly little ones. Okay? Which is great. So I'm honestly really impressed this is still working. Maybe we don't have to do what I wanted to do, but we will anyway. Okay. So we have this idea of sessions, right? And sessions comes from metrics. And now we want to, instead of having an array of objects, we want to have an object where each one has like a key. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to actually reduce this array to an object. So we're going to take filtered metrics, and we're going to do dot reduce, and this takes accumulator, session, and an index. Okay, and then you initialize it with an object. Okay, and then in here you're going to say we're going to create a unique ID. So we're going to say session ID or something is equal to, and we're going to import a library that I've used a good bit that's called npm install UUID, and we're going to say v4 here. And then we're going to come up to the top here, and we're going to say import v4 from UUID. Okay, and that'll create us a nice, pretty unique ID that will be useful. Okay, and then we're going to return, and we're going to take the accumulator. I don't need that. Return. We're going to spread the accumulator, so that's the object that's passed each time, every time this reduce runs. And then we're going to pass a session ID, dynamically create that property, and then we're going to pass it the session, and then we'll probably end up passing it the index, and we'll pass it the let's just call this ID. Probably, I don't know, we'll probably repass that in there. We don't need that. Actually, we'll keep that session ID for more clarity. Okay. Cool. So now in here is going to be the session and the session ID. So now we need to go look at what get sessions is returning and who that's feeding that to. So get sessions, then we are console logging sessions, and then we have this output, and we're pushing analyze metrics for productivity. Okay, so check this out. So instead of doing that, I don't think we need this. Well, we'll keep this for a second, but let's make this better. So if we look at analyze metrics for productivity, well, this is taking metrics, so this should really take a session instead now. And let's actually call this, if we go to get sessions, let's call this metrics. Metrics instead of session. Okay, so we have session up here. So now we're going to say session instead of metrics. We're going to do, we can actually just extract that. So we'll do metrics. Well, maybe we'll do that. Session. So we'll do up here, I don't even know if that let I is actually being used. We're going to say const metrics is equal to session. So we're going to pull metrics out of that. It just helps for like the simplicity of writing this type of stuff. And then we're finding that, and then const metric. Okay. Okay, so we're actually going to end up returning then analyze session. Let's turn this into session. Analyze session for productivity. Or add, let's call this add productivity stats to session. Okay? That's what this function's doing. So it's taking the metrics out, it's performing transformations on them, and it's inserting those back into this object. And so it's actually going to be updating each object. So we're then going to take this object, this session object, and we're going to return session, and we're going to spread session, and then we're going to add all of these things to it. So when it returns it, it's going to be updating it. Cool. Okay, and there's probably a better way to do this, but get sessions is actually going to end up metrics is equal to filtered metrics and then we're actually going to, in here I think we're going to const analytics is equal to get productivity stats. We're going to rename that function, and we're going to actually take that and we're going to call this metrics, and then we're going to spread. I mean, this is like, could you tell this is my favorite operator yet? I think it's incredible. Spread analytics over that. Oh yeah, okay. We can actually still return this. Okay. So let me go change that function. We don't need this anymore. And we're going to change this to that, and we're going to call this metrics, and we're going to get rid of this silly little thing. Okay. Cool. So now get productivity stats is only being used one time. And it's happening when we're creating the actual sessions, okay? So we're creating an array that's updating these metrics. And we're then creating unique session IDs. Maybe the session ID should really be not unique. It should really be like the timestamp or something of the first metric. Yeah, let's make this session ID. I think that's going to be better. We'll call this metrics, and we could metrics, and we know that their length is greater than 60, so we could say metrics 0.timestamp. Yeah, we'll say toString. Is that how you do that? How do you do toString? Node, if we do let num equal 1, and then we do num.toString. That does work. Okay. Timestamp.toString. Okay, so filtered metrics is then returning that with a session ID that is equal to the timestamp of this entire session. That's useful. We'll find that to be useful, I'm sure. Okay, so I think I like where this is going. And then it's putting that there. It's also adding the index, and it's adding the metrics. I think that makes sense. So get sessions. Get sessions is now a little bit more powerful. Okay, so now I think we should turn this whole thing into a hook. What do you guys think? Let's see over here. I see that the mindset is asking some questions. So array, then arrays convert to an object. Yeah, so we've created, and I'll just go back through that structure real quick. Or I can just finish this up too. But we've essentially created this idea that we've taken a session, and a session is a big array of objects, or the whole daily metrics things that this feeds into. Creates, and the thing we need that's messing me up, but this day metrics is an array of objects. We're then getting the productivity data from that. We're converting that into sessions, and each session is then an object that has like stats about it, and then that's what we're going to end up passing over to here, or right here, sessions. So let's just see if this even works. So sessions is now an object. I don't know if we can map. I think we can do that. I might have messed that up. I think we could do that. Let's try this. And we'll console.log sessions before we do too much. And I know I'm going to have to npm start again. Okay, this is going to restart. Okay, so there's some issue. Sessions is an object. It's obviously getting called way too many times, so that's an issue. We'll fix that. That's crazy. And it only has one. Okay, so this is kind of working though. So sessions is creating the one object. But the issue is that day metrics keeps updating. I wonder why this isn't plotting though. And not returning an error. I mean, we could do something. I haven't gotten this to quite work yet, and that may not be the right thing to do. But I don't think you can map an object. Can you? I'm trying to figure out if you can map an object. So if I go foo bar. Well, I guess that would be foo bar, and then foo bar. Oh, that's wrong. I'm just making sure that what I'm trying to do is technically possible. Oh my gosh. How is it saying that it's already been defined and then it's not? That's weird. Anyway, let's call this temp. Okay. So temp.map, and I want to try session. What do I want to do? I just want a console.log session. Temp.map is not a function, so you can't do that. Interesting. So I wonder what the right way to do this actually is. So this is now returning so sessions is returning an object, which I think is right. And then for each object in the session, I wonder what the right way to do this. Yeah, I think I want an array of objects, but then that doesn't make sense. No. I mean, let me just try this. React object of object. I know there's a right way to do this. Yeah. Oh, that could work. Interesting. I guess I could do that. I could do sessions or sessions dot keys. Because I think if you do object dot keys and then you call that on temp that gives you an array of the object keys. So I could say object dot keys on sessions and then say something, I guess this has to be in a curly brace, dot map, and it'll be session ID, and then this will be something like this. This would probably be session ID, and then this would actually be sessions session ID. I don't know. Let's give it a try. I don't think I have to return anything, right? Let's just search object, keys, map, React. I guess if I have these things there, it's gonna mess me up. That's probably the right way to do it. Yeah, see, it's working now. Okay, so the issue there is I didn't have a return statement. So there's this shortcut in more modern day JavaScript where if you have this, if you have curly brace syntax for the entrance to, like it's not a single line, you need to put in return thing, because it essentially declares it a function. And that's messed up there, but we'll fix that. Anyway, so you actually need to do something like, but it's kind of like you don't need that, so you can just have it return this line. The line would actually look like this. So you have it directly return the object, but it's a little long, so it'll end up fixing that. And then we're going to fix this ID, and this is going to be sessions, session ID, and then we go back, and that should work. Ta-da! Woo! All right. So that's awesome. So now, if we go click over here, and we click our 15, April 15th, I can't believe that worked. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Now, if we come look at it, look at that. Look how beautifully formatted that is. It's clean. Oh, I mean, it's definitely needs a lot more improvements, obviously, but it's at least getting to the point where it looks a little bit better, and it's much more React. Well, it's getting closer to using components and React and things like that, so that's pretty exciting for me. One big thing here, excuse me, that we're seeing a lot is that sessions is constantly being called, and I can hear my computer spooling up. So that doesn't really sound good to me, and there should be a way to fix this. And I'm pretty sure it's because Demetrics is constantly getting changed. So how do I fix this? Really should be using a hook for this. No, we should. We should be using the UseEffect hook, and only when something changes in Demetrics should we actually update this sessions array. this whole sessions thing. And I just am trying to figure out the right way to do that. I get it why on like this one, on today's date, because I'm wearing the headset and it's running, it should be updating. I wonder if I'd stop using it to keep updating. Alright, so this would technically end a session for today, so I'm really curious to see what happens. Ah, okay. So that's kind of what I was thinking, is that you have, the issue is that we have, every time a new metric gets populated, I mean, it seems like anytime this number changes, I know this number is changing like once a second. So that number changing once a second is actually causing a downstream issue and everything else, causing it to be re-rendered, I think. Because you can tell when I unplug the device, it like immediately stopped printing it out. So that's kind of a big thing for me to look at right now. And I wonder why that's happening. So let's go to the code. So if we look back over here, and we ended up not using that, so I'll hit save, and I'll come up, and I'll hit ControlC, and I'll do npm uninstall UID. Oh, I'm really proud of this code right now. This is looking much better. But let's go think about why Demetrics is constantly being updated, even when I'm not looking at the current day. Okay, we'll lower this down. Okay. Only poll if today is today. If it is today. I think that's true. But the one thing that I want to look at is like, why is that number... It may not be getting queried, but it is being re-rendered. Let me go look at that. I want to look for that 5.4K snapshots. I can see it right there. 5.4K snapshots on. Where does that code live? Ah. Well, turns out it's magic. That's great. Activity log. Oh, interesting. That's probably why this one looks weird too. Huh. Okay, interesting. So, guess I'm so this Demetrics, I wonder if that's changing every time. Probably is. Let's just console log out Demetrics real quick. So I want to see if when I unplug my headset and put it on, does it actually drive up? Okay, so Demetrics is now valid. Okay, so you can see Demetrics is like constantly being fired when I have the headset on. That's what's causing, and it's not even changing. Interesting. That definitely seems like a bug. So here's activity log, total thoughts. Look at that. That's for this up here. So that's the number that's changing all the time. So we really want to look at this total thoughts number. I think that's going to be the root of our problems. And then loading settings. If it's not loading settings, show the calendar heat map. Cool, cool, cool. Activity logging and total thoughts is greater than 0. Got it. Okay. Here's our second big GetWord. This is so weird. Alex is the this is some stuff I have not gotten. That's so weird. He has GetWord. What is that function? Snapshot or snapshots. Oh, that's cute. I like that. Okay. I'm not mad about that one. I'm not mad about that one. That's a good one. I like that. That's a great way to do that actually. So const GetWord is equal to amount return. If amount's equal to 1, return snapshot, and if it's greater than, return snapshots. That's why it wasn't working when I was trying to search for it. Okay, so then we have heading here. And this number is changing all the time. Why is total day thoughts changing all the time? Interesting. Okay. So this total thoughts thing is constantly changing when the selected day. So we really need to know if like the selected day is today for 1. Because if we knew if it was the selected day, set selected day. So how can we figure out if selected day is today?
Okay. There, he's got the code right there. So all we have to do here is say selected day and we'll say selected day, and then we can also just do, we don't need to calculate this, selected day as today. It's equal to, we may use this. We may not. Let's just run this real quick. So we're gonna add in selected day to this component that we've just created, and instead of this, we're gonna come over to analytics, and we're going to say selected day, and then if Demetrics or not selected day, get out of here. And then we'll end up saying UseEffect, and we'll say, we'll pass in here Demetrics. Yeah, we may end up actually redoing some of this. Demetrics, and then we'll say, well, hang on, let's just say, I don't know if we need that. Selected day. So when selected day changes, this function's going to fire, and we're going to const sessions. I guess we are going to end up doing this. Sessions, set sessions, and this is going to be equal to use state auto import from React, and this is going to start off as null. Am I doing this right? Yeah, I think I'm doing this right. Okay. So we're going to set that equal to null initially. Should be okay. Okay, and now we're going to say, so every time selected day changes, we're going to say sessions, set sessions, and we're going to say something like that, where we set the sessions that way. Then we can come down here and we can say return null. And then anytime sessions changes, this whole thing should run again. So this could work. So I think we want to say something more like that. And I guess we need to also know I may need to add Demetrics into the array. I think I will. And honestly, I feel like this is not going to fix the problem if I add Demetrics back in there. So let's see if this is still running like crazy. Alright. Get sessions called one time. So it's already a little better, I think. And it was calculated. So let's click on another day. Get sessions called. And you can see it's not updating, I think, because Demetrics hasn't changed. So let's see if I unplug my headset and I put it back on. And now we have calm and focus metrics pumping back in, but we don't have the session updating because the selected day didn't change. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. Demetrics this whole thing is re-rendering a lot, which is kind of still troubling, but it is working again. Okay, so that's great. So we did do a little bit of an improvement. Okay, so we've done a good bit today. So we've essentially taken this function, we've added a hook that prevented this thing from firing over and over again, and we're using the state hook to set the thing, and then that's what this is actually rendering. Anytime selected day changes, we recalculate the session information, which we converted over to an object. And yeah, so we've made a good bit of progress. So I think that's probably where I'll wrap up today. And we'll come back at it tomorrow, and we'll try and clean up some more of this code and get it a little bit better. But we're at least getting somewhere where now if we click, April 5th or something, we go look at this data, we can see the sessions and it's not constantly recalculating it, so I think that's really cool. Oh, well, it's doing something weird. Cool. So we'll come back at it, and I think that was a pretty good start though. So let me see. So thank you so much for coming and attending, and I hope you learned a little bit more about how React works and how you can use it and how you can pass components and information around to different components and use that in hooks, and how we refactor that. I think the interface looks much better today than it did when we started. It has that nice heading to it now where it's really bold. We changed we changed the data structure sort of underlying the session idea, and I think we're off to a really good start. So we'll keep working hard at this and come back strong tomorrow and keep working on it. And this was using, of course, the Neurosity Notion. You can find out more at neurosity.co. The link's in the description. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see me do next time by adding a comment, and I'll happily work on that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so that's the gist. I see some feedback from the mindset, so I'll take a look at all of that. I appreciate your feedback. I really do. And I'll look at that. And thank you again for tuning in. I hope you have a great, productive day. Take care.